And we're live with no countdown. Here we go, Don.
Oh, hey. Hey, everybody. Welcome into tonight's episode of the Nerd Ensemble. I'm here with my awesome cohort. Cohort? That's not the word. Co-host is the word. Mr. Brett Dean. Brett, how are you?
Pretty good. As you
Good.
can see, I look less good than I did before. That must mean there's different camera hardware tonight.
More on that in a bit, because that's going to be the first thing. And I'm, of course, the other co-host, Don Kovac. So yeah, it's been a while. It is officially summer for me and Mr. 42 Total Cores. And we've certainly, Brett has taken some time to recharge, and I have a newborn, so I have not. But that being said, I've been off of work for like a month. So I'm recharged from work, but sleep deprived, and coffeeed up. So there's that. So it has been a while, but we are here because, especially because it's been a while. Brett's got some new things we need to talk through, and then of course we are on the eve of the keynote for WWDC 2022.
That's pretty exciting.
It is. Certainly, it would be more exciting if we were there, but hey, that's okay. It's still really super exciting, and we are going to talk through what we're hoping for and what we're expecting from tomorrow's keynote. It's one of those things where we keep saying we're going to stream it live, and then we don't. But there are technical reasons for that too, so it's not just us being lazy.
We could try it.
We could try. I mean, it is summer now for us, so and I've got the whole morning / early afternoon blocked off for it. So okay, so
stay tuned.
We're not. Yeah, check out our Facebook page.
Do it.
There we go. Okay, there you go. Your sound is now
sounding
improved.
better. Sounding like a human.
Sounding like
is it
you
deeper
have
and
a better
lower?
microphone. Oh, very much, and just the right amount of ambient reverb. Not quite spatial audio, but that's okay. It's real reverb. It ain't none of that fake stuff. Quick update. Along with WWDC, yes, Brett was saying, I think it got cut off. Check it in our Facebook page. If we are able to go ahead and live commentate on the event tomorrow, then we will put that on the Facebook page and let y'all know when we're starting. But the keynote is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Pacific, of course, as always, 12 o'clock Central Hour Time, and 1 o'clock in, over by there. The
only thing working against it is how long those things have gotten lately. Like I feel like back in the day, the keynote, boom, bam, over, and like 40 new products. And now it's like 7 hours long at a minimum. It's like a Wagner opera minus the great music.
It is. Maybe there's great music. We don't know, but
that's possible.
But
they are,
certainly,
they are kind of hip to that. Yeah,
they do have like a whole music service.
Yeah,
that they
yeah, good
give
point.
music over. But I mean, I would say definitely block out that noon to 2 p.m. time period there, and then maybe even noon to 2:20 just to be sure. But so that's what we've got going on. So check out that, and certainly it is summer, so schedules are a little bit wacky, but hopefully we can get into more of a groove this summer, because believe it or not, Brett, it has been 2 years since we started this here little show.
What?
Can you believe that?
What?
Summer
out of
of
town.
2020, and I feel like it was around WWDC time too.
I think you're right. I think that was the catalyst that finally got us off our butts to do it.
Oh, that's there for all you real Mac nerds. Catalyst, baby.
Oh, catalyst, yeah. As I say, bonjour to you.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, there you go. Another going deep.
We had a
nerdiness.
digital rendezvous.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's man, time flies, right?
Do you think they stopped calling it rendezvous because it sounds kind of like a little
yeah,
little
risque.
I mean?
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, a little risque. Like somebody didn't think
Mm-hmm.
it through. Like Phil Schiller's like, let's call it rendezvous, and then eventually Steve's like, doesn't that mean like a hookup somewhere in French? You know, and then they decided not to do that. You think it went down like that, maybe?
I think I wouldn't put anything,
but with more F words.
Oh, absolutely, especially if Steve was in on that meeting. You bet it was.
Right.
Right. So let's do this first. Let's talk a little bit about some of the new things that you are featuring. I have one small new thing, and then you have
go ahead and highlight yours real quick, because mine, I don't think mine will take long. I'm not pretty long-witted with this stuff, but
you should.
You might want to show yours off first.
You, sir, are on the cutting edge. So at any rate, what I have that's new-ish is for those of you out there that have purchased AirPods Pro, they are, Brett and I have talked about them many times on this here show, and it has been a widely known thing, if you follow this stuff closely anyway, that the AirPods Pro are fairly prone to failure and defects. So Apple went ahead and instituted a replacement program because several people have noted that either AirPod has produced a rattling sound on the inside of it, or a squealing, squelching sort of sound. Those of you that might remember, I actually have 2 pairs of AirPods Pros, and both pairs of these AirPods were exhibiting this. Each one had both the rattle and the squealing sound on both sides. So I took it into the local Apple store this past week and scheduled 2 separate Genius Bar appointments back to back for them. So that way you can get kind of both serviced. And funny thing, turns out I had them scheduled back to back, but I had 2 different Geniuses. So one Genius was working on one set of my AirPods, and then the other Genius was working on the other set of my AirPods. It was very strange, I must say.
You had to make 2 separate appointments. That is totally interesting. Wow.
Well,
okay.
I figured why not? Just because when you go to do it through the app, it makes you when you select devices from the list, you can't do multiple appointments for the same one. So
a product.
Yeah, exactly. So I went ahead and did that, and they looked them over. They ran a quick diagnostic there, and then said, okay, well, right now we just got to run an audio test. This takes up to an hour. So why don't you go ahead and you can leave these here with us. If the test fails, then you'll go ahead and we'll replace the AirPods for you for free under the replacement program. And if not, we'll just give them back to you, and you can kind of decide what you want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So so I left both pairs with them, and came back an hour and a half later, whatever it was. And sure enough, they had replaced both sets. Of course, the original cases that I have was totally fine because they're working fine. But I have 4 brand new AirPods Pros. So they've both gotten a really nice lease on life, which is awesome.
That's incredible. I mean, I know you're not trying to put anything over on Apple, but it's amazing how yeah, it took an hour and a half or whatever, but it's amazing how accommodating they are with that. It's kind of a shock. I mean, you imagine like what it was in the old days, even with that company. You put it in a box, you ship it away. That takes about a week and a half. Then they analyze it. Then they maybe get back to you in another week and a half. You know, it's like a month before anything gets moving. So that could happen that quickly is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I've gotten my other pairs of AirPods repaired. I had to pay for a replacement on one of them, on my old AirPods, AirPods 1. But it still was really easy. Just they did some tests, whatever. Oh well, I'm sorry, you're out of warranty. So for a small fee, we can hook you up with a new. Okay, fine, no problem. And that was easy. But this, because of the replacement program, it worked really well. And so they gave it back to me in this little thing right here. I'm like, what are these little things in here?
Okay.
They gave me not one, not two, not three, but 4 new sets of ear tips.
What?
So I have a brand new set of the small, medium, and large tips for each of the 4 AirPods.
Wow. Okay.
Not that I was hurting for them because I have those things everywhere, but
right. That's cool. I guess they figure, hey, for your trouble, we caused this problem for you. Here's some stuff.
So, friends, all you have to do is go log into the Apple support app on your iPhone, or if you don't have it, download it from the App Store, or you can certainly do it from Safari and schedule yourself a Genius Bar appointment if you're exhibiting these issues. If you're not, the tests are going to tell them that. But yeah, they just went ahead and replaced them both, no problem. And yeah, now hopefully at some point they're going to be releasing AirPods Pro 2 this year. But in the meanwhile, I have 2 new pairs of AirPods Pro.
Great. That's pretty awesome.
So, and it was super easy. So definitely encourage you all that have these issues to make yourself an appointment and get it taken care of. Because if you have an Apple store near you, and you can get an appointment, go for it. It'll be super easy.
Yeah. Cool.
That's my thing.
Well, I'm glad it went that smoothly. I'm always amazed by that kind of stuff. I always expect, even that I'll show up, even for an Apple thing, and they'll be like, you know what? It looks like you breathed one too many times while wearing these, so you're out of luck there, champ. Or something like that.
Yeah. And I've had family friends who went to go get iPods replaced and those things, and they have the little water sensor in there. That's tripped. Sorry, you're out of luck. So in this case, if you are careful with your devices, and in this case, this was an Apple problem, this wasn't a me problem. And so, but if you're careful with your device, they're good about it. So Brett has some new toys, and we need to talk about them right now. What you got there, Brett?
Well, as you know, 2 years ago when we started this show, I had an iMac on the verge of death. It was terrible. So I at that time, I was really hoping they'd come out with a new 27-inch iMac. Pause for a beverage.
Important things.
What I was kind of disappointed about was that iMac was not one of the first to get the Apple Silicon chips, that it still had Intel. So I thought, gosh, I don't know. I'm either going to buy this and sell it, or I want it to last a few years. So I got the 10-core one with 72 gigs of RAM. And it was fine. It was actually, dare I say, it was pretty darn good for the first 5 months or so. It was great. And then what was the operating system that came out that year?
Big Sur.
Big Sur. Then Big Sur happened, and it got glitchy as all get out. Fresh installs, I tried the works. I did everything. It was still glitchy. So what I surmised is there was something in the code that wasn't agreeing with the iMac. I think because they started to add code in there for Apple Silicon chips. I don't know if any of that's true. That's just my guess. So I kind of limped along with that thing for a couple of years. And then this past 6 months,
March.
they announced, in March.
Back in March.
They announced, okay. How long ago was that? Just like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, something like that. Seems like eons.
3 months.
They introduced the Mac Studio, which I'll tell you, I was kind of ambivalent to the announcement because I thought I was confused where that sat in the product lineup, and all the tech punditry out there was still convinced that a 27-inch iMac was coming until someone got the nudge, I think from Apple itself, that no, there's nothing coming. That's it, guys. That's it. That's actually the 27-inch iMac right there. You get that Apple Studio display, which is 27, and you get the Mac Studio, and that's your setup. So I was kind of cool with that because in years past, I mean, that's kind of the product I wanted. I wanted a small tower, basically, with some expandability, but nothing crazy, that you could potentially swap out a monitor if something bigger or better or cooler technology comes along. But with enough horsepower that we're not talking like Mac Mini or anything here, not like the most consumery version of it. So I went for it and I got one. I sold the iMac. I got this setup, and there you see it right there on the screen. This is after my office got torn apart and put back together. So I have the studio display there in front. There's the Mac Studio charging my mouse and keyboard, which I got like a week after I ordered it, but I had to wait 2 months to get the Mac Studio because of the backup. So those are plugged in and charging in that picture. And then over there on the left, they're actually the same size, but because it's on an angle, it gets distorted a little bit there. Yeah. That's a 27-inch LG in portrait mode. And yes, they are very close to the same panel. Who makes the studio display panel? Is it LG or Samsung? LG does. Yeah. Okay. So they're really similar panels. They both look great. The Apple Studio display is 5K. The other one is 4K. The LG is 4K. I'm hard pressed to tell the difference, but you can. It's there if you look for it. But you're getting near Retina quality on that LG, so it's really nice. Anyway, the thing you want to talk about is the Mac Studio. How is it? It's good. It's really good. And it sits there and it looks like a little it kind of looks like something you've won, like somebody gave you an award that sits on your desk. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Like a little, like here's a block of aluminum, with but up on the top there, maybe it says like what you want it for instead of the Apple logo. But it just kind of looks like an award that sits on your desk that you won, and that's kind of cool. The ports are great. I can plug things in without dongles. I can run. I've got a USB cable that I run to my hi-fi behind me, and so I get that Apple Music. I can send 192 kilohertz music directly to it through a USB cable. It's awesome. It's got pretty good expandability. It's got a bunch of Thunderbolt ports in the front and back. And the processor is snappy. There's something I can't yet identify about it, where it does feel laggy in certain situations compared to the Intel chip. I don't know why. It's almost like on app startups, and it's not like that first time app startup when it's a little bit slower. It's kind of like it hangs at different times than you're used to if you've only used an Intel Mac. I didn't notice that on my M1 MacBook Air, but I did notice it a little bit here. My guess is, and because I don't have an app by app reference chart made up or anything, I bet some of those are going through Rosetta 2. That's maybe my guess on that, and I'm just feeling a little bit of that lag. Whereas on the M1 MacBook Air, everything is naturally a little bit slower because I have the very base chip on that computer. So I'm probably just used to everything just being a little slower on there, and I didn't notice it as much. Not to say that that machine is slow. It's really good too.
Right. Sure.
But yeah, I haven't quite figured it out. I think those are Rosetta apps. Now, Don, question. Because I feel like I'm discovering the M1 stuff all over again. Have you played around with some of the iPad and iPhone apps that are available to run?
No, I actually haven't.
Okay.
That's something I need to do.
When I was setting this thing up, I went to the App Store to download a few things that I had already bought. And for the first time, I saw like these iPhone and iPad apps would run great on your new blah, blah, blah. And so I downloaded a few of them, and they actually do run really well. And I don't know if those ones listed have those gotten the tweaks for like a mouse interface? I don't know. But they all seem to work pretty well.
There is some sort of if I'm understanding correctly, there's some sort of like catalyst wizardry going on there that those apps can access to make that happen, but it's still in a lot of cases it's still very janky and incomplete.
Okay, let me see if I can. Maybe some people will be interested in this, so maybe I'll launch one really quick and we'll see how it goes. Let's see if I can show my whole screen here, because I like the concept of that. The only here, this is going to get wonky for a second. Here, I'll put it on the second screen. All right, there's my second screen in portrait mode. The only problem I've noticed is the inconsistency of availability, if that makes sense. So it's things that you go looking for. It's like, oh, that's a great iPad app. Well, that developer has chosen not to make it available on the Mac App Store. They just think like, we want to put our best foot forward. We'll make a Mac app if we really want to, it's not available. Whereas I'm kind of like, you know what, just put everything out there, and if it sucks, somebody will let you know. Anyway, so here's a tuning app that I use on my iPad and iPhone quite a bit.
Oh, ClearTune. I used to use ClearTune.
All you musicians out there, yeah, and it's using the microphone, and it's working fine. Even better than that one. And these are all pretty basic, right? Because there's like single function things. I bet you use this one. Here's tempo.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of defaults to the iPad look. Yep. But yeah, I think all the stuff is here. Yeah. It's pretty good. Just like you would expect it to be used. You can scroll up and down. Everything's working great.
Yep.
Did you hear that when I just played it?
Do it again. Yeah. Very faintly in the background.
You can hear that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very faintly? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in HBO Max, that one I was surprised at. Anybody that has AT&T, I don't know if you know this, but you get HBO Max too, just FYI.
Yeah, I take advantage of
the
that.
Time Warner thing. And you can see the things I've watched most recently: Goonies, Grumpy Old Men, Willy Wonka, and South Park. Yeah, there you go.
That's quite a mix there, man.
That's Brett's mix in a nutshell right there, baby.
Hey,
All right.
I would expect nothing
close that
less
out.
here on the Nerd Ensemble. Let's say that.
Anywho, so what else? Okay, the studio display. When I was having it plugged into my MacBook Air M1, I was more shaky about it then than I am now. I think with only 7 GPU cores on that one, I think it was having to hustle a little bit more than obviously the Mac Studio is. I just feel like it's kind of working better now. What I will say is if you've spent any time with a ProRes display or something with 120 hertz refresh rate, and you go back to this as a main display, you're going to notice 60 hertz is getting a little long in the tooth. They gotta do something about that. They gotta make the next generation of displays have 120, because now I can see the flicker. I couldn't before, but now I can't unsee it. So it's there, and I detect it. It's weird because I don't notice it so much on a TV with a 60 hertz refresh rate, like an OLED. Don't notice it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the benefits of OLED. I don't really know. Anyway, I can see the flicker on this one. I can see the flicker on the LG panel. So I don't know, but it's pretty good. Here's the thing that sucks. This camera is diabolical. Oh my God. My iMac one was crystal flippin' clear. This is supposedly has better hardware too. Am I right?
No.
What was the hardware on that iMac that made it that much better?
Well, I mean, certainly and we may have talked about this on this show before, but now we're actually seeing it in action. And the thing is that they're taking the front-facing camera from an iPad. I believe it's the one in the iPad, the current iPad Pros, the iPad Air, and even the iPad, the $329 iPad. And when you think about I think it's a 12 meg. Is it an 8 megapixel? It's an 8 megapixel or a 12 meg. It's okay. So it's a 12 megapixel, in which to get the center stage thing, they're taking a large image and cropping down. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work.
I think it automatically shuts off unless it
because
an Apple app.
Whatever it is has to take advantage of it. But at any rate, so you're trying, instead of taking this image and projecting it onto a 12.9 inch screen like I have next to me or smaller, you're trying to take it and blow it up onto a 27 inch screen. Yeah. So the concept of center stage is a good concept, but trying to then blow it up and put it on a 27 inch screen, to me that's the biggest failing. Other folks are going to complain about the color saturation and the white balance and those things, and
also
those are not great by any stretch. But to me, like, the first failure is like, oh, we're going to take an image that we would have shown on a 12.9 inch screen maximum, and we're going to project it onto a 27 inch screen. What? So yeah, 100% a failure.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought that was a great idea. I don't know how it passed quality control. What were they doing inside the lab that generated a better image? Or why did they ignore it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just they were so obsessed with the
center stage.
Yeah, and it does make sense. I mean, when you're sitting on a Zoom call or whatever, and Zoom supposedly does take advantage of it. Like, okay, like the following you around when you're like reaching down to like itch your leg or whatever. Like, great.
But full disclosure, I've talked to my family on a FaceTime call with this thing already, and I want to like reach over and get a drink or scratch my leg or whatever, and the thing's following me, and I'm trying to get out of its damn way. It's like, leave me alone, stop following me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a fail. There's no doubt about it. There's no excuses. There's no any of that.
The sad part is, not only that, it's like they had a great camera in that iMac.
Right.
Like, it was pretty good. That was one of the best things about that particular upgrade, was the camera was really great. It was a 1080p, and it was crystal clear. Great color saturation. It had the T1 chip in there, making the image better. And this has arguably got way T2, yeah. This one's got arguably way better hardware inside it, but it can't do diddly with this crappy image,
Right. Yeah, no, they really blew it on that. But I mean, how do you feel about the screen? I mean, you're looking at it every day.
Yeah, the form factor is really nice. I mean, when you consider that this is basically an iMac without the chin, it does look more 16:9. Does that make sense? Or whatever the aspect ratio is, it does look more widescreen than before. So that's really nice. That gets close to what I was hoping for, which was a widescreen iMac display. And so it feels a bit like that now. I'm also convinced too that unless you're doing like some kind of weird stock trading or rendering a Pixar movie, 27-inch might be the biggest you need to go on an ordinary human's desktop. You know what I mean? Like a 32-inch, I couldn't see around it. Like this, I can at least like see out my office door and see who's coming. That would be tough. So I don't know who's buying.
Are you concerned about people trying to visit you in your office? Is that what it is?
Yeah, no. If I see my kids coming, that's great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like this should be the display for everybody, and it sounds like for what you need it to be, it's fine. It's certainly not a downgrade, at least display wise. It shouldn't be a downgrade from your 27-inch iMac.
No, it's like a side grade with a better bit of computing hardware with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my gosh, that you've got. So remind everybody for your studio, you got the which version?
I got. Oh lordy, hang on one second.
What processor? I think if I remember, you have the M1 Max chip in there.
I have the M1 Max with the 32 core GPU.
Okay. So you've got the top of the line M1 Max.
Yeah.
And how much RAM did you go with?
I went with the full 64.
64. Okay. So 64 gigs of storage, or not storage. What are they calling it now? I should know.
Oh gosh,
unified memory. Unified.
There you go.
That's what it was. What size hard drive? Oh my god! How much storage did you get?
I got same as before. I got a 2 terabyte SSD, and again, that comes just down to money. That's when you consider how pricey these things got, like overnight. That's the best I could do. I would have loved to have gotten a 4 terabyte and actually moved up a little bit from my last machine, but I just can't do that yet.
You can attach some Thunderbolt storage later if you really need to.
Could do. Yeah, could do.
And plus, of course, you've got the 2 USB-C ports on the front and the HDMI. Not the. Oh
SSD,
my lord!
or
What
no,
is the slot? For
oh yeah.
Wow, we
contagious.
are like failing nerd class tonight with this.
Yeah,
SD
it's
card,
what are these
SD
things
card.
called? SD card. Oh my god. Oh my lord. It's been a long time.
That's we're yeah, that's true. We're getting our nerd legs
Just
going.
chalk
here.
it up to that.
Spring training. So yeah, it sounds like, man, you got a beast of a machine. Even when I had that M1 Max MacBook Pro from
What
back
did
in
you
November,
give me your hot take on that again? I know it's revisiting a little bit, but kind of refresh us how that felt.
I mean, certainly, I didn't do anything really that pushed it to its. I did some logic stuff, and yeah, it was fast. No doubt about it. And at the time, I was kind of thinking about it, like, all right, well, like you said, like this. I'm a laptop person first and foremost, and certainly my 13-inch MacBook Pro here from 2020 is a fine, device for most of the things that I do, for really all of the things that I do. But I was curious about the gaming aspect of it. And it just, there wasn't particularly for Minecraft, there wasn't a huge boost in performance. No matter which way I ran the game, because I ran the game using Rosetta, I ran the game native using multi-Minecraft and some of the things, and some of the mods and stuff that are very popular. And it just it was good, but it wasn't like the extra $800-900 good. But certainly I'm not doing what you're doing with it. You are editing video, a lot of video, fairly frequently. Some of the work that you've done for your band and your job and whatever, like you're doing some heavy video editing. And the more horsepower you have under the hood, the better it's going to be, because I do think that what we're going to see hopefully tomorrow is we're going to start to get a peek at what is the next iteration of Apple Silicon looking like. And I don't suspect that the M2 Max or whatever the chip is going to be that much better, to where you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to get this one because it's so much better than my M1 Max. Like, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you got yourself a good selection there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, what I would say is I just to see today, I just imported off the SD card in the front. I popped one in the front. Just wanted to pull off some HD video from it, and just the import speeds were crazy. Final Cut pulled in that whole thing, close to a maxed out 64 gig SD card in like 3 minutes or something like that. That's anecdotal. I didn't time it or anything, but crazy fast import speeds. Anyway, should we start talking about? Sorry.
In the fact, I bet the fact that the ports on the front, just super accessible, easy to reach over, pop it in, and yeah,
that's really nice.
So over time, let's we'll check back in and kind of see how things are going with that. And some new things that you come across, you're like, oh my god, like doing this thing on this versus my old iMac. It's like, really being able to get a little bit more specific, I think would be some awesome, sort of feedback on that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to shift gears here, and we are going to go over to talking about our preview for tomorrow's WWDC keynote. As I said, it's tomorrow at noon Central Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and then do the math from there, friends. That's cool. Look at that. That's cool.
I am
so-
going to do a little window shifting here. So if you want to set us up.
Shift it up. So anyway, I figured let's talk in this order. Let's talk about what we're expecting or hoping to see. We'll start with iOS. We'll go to iPadOS. We'll go to watchOS. We'll go to tvOS. We'll go to macOS because I think we're going to have the most to say about that. And then we can talk about any extra stuff from there, what we hope to see or what we want to see for anything over and above that. And just for the audience to set it up, the thing that we have come to expect from the WWDC is WWDC standing for Worldwide Developers Conference, developers. So it is very much a software-based week. It's all about showing off what do we expect from the next versions of Apple's major software platforms: iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, macOS. Okay. In years past, there has been a hardware back in 2008, 2009, 2010. That's where the iPhones were. The new iPhone was released to the world at WWDC 2011. That shifted to the fall. There have been hardware announcements sprinkled in there here and there. 2013 was the trash can iMac Pro. Mac Pro, excuse me. 2017 was the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I believe the HomePod, the original HomePod, was released that same WWDC. 2015 was the One More Thing announcement of Apple Music. So this has been 2019, the last in-person one until tomorrow was the preview of the Intel-based Mac Pro. So hardware can occur. Have we had hardware at a WWDC the last 2 years? No, we have not. But you never know. And more on that in a bit.
Yeah, the wild card
iOS
now is because Apple's in control of its own roadmap. It's like hardware that drives the software, whereas before they're just like, here's our software for the stuff that's available by people that make the stuff for us. Now they're making it, and if the M2 does something radically different, then the software is going to reflect that, but we don't know that yet. Anyway, do you want to talk iOS first?
Let's start with iOS. So what we expect it to be called is iOS 16, the 16th major version of the iPhone software. So I'll tell you a couple of things I'm expecting to see. And Brett, of course, has a nice little list pulled up here. Thank you, Mac Rumors, for this one. So the biggest things the rumors are pointing to, like it says there, the overhauled lock screen with wallpapers that have widget-like capabilities. So a much more interactive lock screen than we're used to. Improvements to notifications, but no details on that have leaked. Some updates to the Messages app, which they're saying a social network-like functionality with specific focus on audio messages.
Okay. Interesting.
Because, audio messages are things I send all the time. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and Apple has a great track record with social network stuff. Anyway.
That's fine. Social network.
Do you remember Ping?
You're right.
You remember Ping?
Oh, sure. iTunes Connect too, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, terrible things. Health app expansion, fresh Apple apps, new ways of system interaction. We don't know, new Fitness Plus stuff, and this supposed Apple Music classical app that that has been a rumor floating around for almost a year now. So that's the stuff that we know in terms of rumors for iOS 16. What would you like to see? Is there a feature that's like, all right, they need to do this?
Okay. I'll just kind of tackle the things on the list and things that jump out to me immediately. So for the overhauled lock screen that have widget-like capabilities, my question about that is the security part of that. If you're able to interact with something, then it's giving out a lot of information without you having to authenticate something. Otherwise, you've gotten past the lock screen at that point. So what are those things going to be? Is it like weather? Is it, you know what I mean?
Here's the thing though. Like right now, I tap on my iPhone. I see that I have a reminder and I have an iMessage. Okay. But unless I go ahead and authenticate with my Face ID, all it tells me is those things. It doesn't tell me the content of what those things are. Until I authenticate.
What else do you need?
So the question is if it's an always on type function, which is you see under possible features based on iPhone 14 rumors, then the screen's always on, a la my Apple Watch. So right now, when my Apple Watch is off, I don't see anything on there except the time. Like there's the rest of the content is essentially blurred out. But if it's widgets, if it's true on widgets, you might see like a list of, okay, here's your weather, here's your calendar, here's your this, but you don't actually see them until your Face ID authenticates you. So they're there. You can see there's a weather widget and all those things, but then you have to authenticate either, typing your passcode, Face ID unlocking, and then it will display the content. That's what I would imagine.
I can see useful stuff on there. Weather's a no-brainer. I think a calculator, not everybody would want it, but I could see that being a no-brainer. I also think things like, for example, to get into my gym, I have to scan a QR code, and so maybe there's something that could just have that QR code out there, so I didn't have to call up the app, wait for their slow ass app to load, and then be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like just always on,
right.
Beep, go up to the little camera thing, and then I get in. Aside from that, I see what you're saying.
Starbucks app? You know
what's that?
You're not much of a Starbucks person, are you?
No, I cook up my own coffee.
I do too.
The bucks that much.
But the one thing that I do like about the Starbucks app is when I'm near a Starbucks, a thing pops up that I can use my Starbucks card and just pulls up a barcode. So that if I'm going to pay for a drink, I just need to show my screen. So it would be nice if your gym
my gym could do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
Anywho, let's see. Improvements to notifications. I see that being incremental. I don't know about you. I don't think there's any need to really revamp anything, except maybe to simplify and maybe make more AI based the summaries. It'd be nice for it to have like a Siri mode, basically, where it looks at the things that you frequently check and it sort of compiles that on its own. And so you're not getting notifications and things like that you're just simply not using. Maybe it would suggest that those go to the background or get summarized. So maybe something like that would be nice. Fresh Apple apps are in the works. To me, that screams we want to make a single app that works across the entire ecosystem. One that will work on an iPad, an iPad Pro, an iPhone, a Mac. We just want to make one app. And so if you're going to do that, it makes sense to rewrite it from the ground up to make it clean and function correctly. You know what I mean? For the classical music app, I have many thoughts about this. I see that actually, as a classical music listener, a fairly knowledgeable classical music listener, I can see that going south. I can see that going south. I can see it becoming the podcast app where they spin it off and then totally neglect it. What classical music has now in Apple Music is access to that extremely high fidelity quality music that goes up to the lossless and beyond, the 192 kilohertz full resolution music that is frankly higher than a CD. It's higher than an SACD. It's more information that can be stored on an LP. So you're getting actually the best quality sound that's possible. No, if you're a person that believes there's some ambiance or something like that to an LP, which I kind of do, that's cool, but still you're getting the cleanest, most it's got the most integrity of any recording playback. Then what else is there that classical music on Apple Music needs? I mean, for me, at least, that was the big one. Give me great audio quality so that I can go in there and play that back and I can hear everything. And I can even, and this is crazy, when you get high fidelity sound, you can hear the silence better. And that's because the dynamic range has increased. So instead of this compressed sound that you get with MP3s and even AAC, you're getting so much more resolution that sound and silence can fill, that you can hear greater extremes in the volume. And that's at the heart of classical music and frankly a lot of good music of any style. So that's all there already. What are you going to do? I mean, they could be labeled better. The way they list composers could be better, and how you search for stuff maybe. I don't know. What would you want to see that's not already there now?
That's the biggest thing that I've understood, is that it's the searching and the indexing, because of how classical music is categorized so much more differently than pop music, rock music, your Apple Music style genres. So my understanding was that's going to be the biggest thing, is that, and making it more searchable and more easier to find that stuff. Certainly, yes, I agree with you. I mean, lossless is, some people say it's a gimmick. Some people, I agree with you on the better.
Not a gimmick
on that. No, I agree with you on that. But it is not even CD quality. Like, it's near CD quality, even at its best, but it's still not CD quality.
But they've got stuff that'll go past that now on Apple Music. You know what I mean?
That's news to me. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I'm not an Apple Music user, really. I use the other one. But yeah, I think anything that they can do in that department, I think, would be better, because classical music does require kind of a whole different set of things than does regular pop rock, popular genres. So going back to what you said about notifications, to me, notifications on the Mac are terrible, and we'll get to that when we get there. I mean, I can't think of anything in particular that the deliver quietly thing was kind of more pronounced early on in iOS 15 and sort of got shuffled underneath the rug a little bit. So hopefully, and maybe this goes along with this part that says new ways of system interaction. Like when you connect your AirPods to a device and you get that little pill-shaped drop down that drops down. what if there was more usage of that in terms of just like little quick things across the system that might be helpful to know? This file is downloaded. This thing is happening. This app wants your attention. Instead of being the huge, drop down from the top, maybe it's this little thing. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of wish it was centered too in the middle of the screen, or that there was a preset that you could set where it dropped down in the center, just like it does in iOS.
You're right. And again, we'll get to the Mac in a bit on that, but all the things that they've said for iOS 16 are fine. I'm like, cool, great. I can't think of anything that I'm like, oh my god, the iPhone needs this thing. Not even pro apps, like, and we'll talk about iPad OS here in a second. But I mean, all that stuff is very incremental. Cool, great. We both have the latest hardware when it comes to our phones, so we're gonna get it all. It's gonna be great, or get most of it until the new phones come out. And of course, I will be downloading the betas tomorrow. But at any rate, so yeah, that's all cool. That's all good. I don't have anything else to say about iOS 16. The iPhone 4, the possible stuff based on iPhone 14. Let's deal with that, in the fall, because they're not going to
another time
tomorrow anyway. We won't. They're not going to give anything away. So iPad OS 16, for me, being the more iPad centric person, the big thing that stands out to me is this supposed multitasking interface update. So many of the iPad power user folks, and which I have tried to be in the past, they did get a little bit of an update for multitasking in iOS 15. There's a little button at the top, and then you can go through and change all that stuff, put apps side by side. That is definitely a nice little improvement, I would say. But certainly what true iPad power users are looking for is when you connect a Magic Keyboard, or you connect a Bluetooth mouse and a Bluetooth trackpad and a keyboard, there needs to be a more desktop-like experience. And this is the big rumor for iPad OS 16, is that they're finally going to address multiple windows, more than one app, more than 3 apps, not just 2 and then 1 for slide over. The ability to resize windows to any size that you want, move windows around more like the Mac, and then perhaps
what if it had? Oh my God! What if it had like a Mac-looking window? I mean, I don't see why not. I mean,
think about, okay, so I don't know if you remember 2 years ago when they added the mouse cursor support. This even predates the show. You hook up a mouse or a trackpad to an iPad. It is an entirely different experience than to what you're used to on the Mac. It is truly iPad, and it surprised the hell out of all of us. It's like, what? Whoa, right? Like, that's what this needs to be. It needs to be not a Mac, Mac-like in terms of what you can do, but it needs to be for the iPad. Like, this thing would not work on anything other than an iPad. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm hoping for.
Interesting. Okay. I'm of the belief. Okay, let's go to one of our other shared passions, which is automobiles. One thing that I kind of like about Audis is that they all have the same grille. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see it coming down the road, and it's an Audi because
it's an
whatever their design language is, they unify that shape. There's not like this one's got a big grill, this one's got the small grill, this one's got they all look the same. Volvo does that too. for the most part, yeah, you're right. Audi is starting to move away from that ever so slightly, but in the past, they would
small
basically all
changes,
have. Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
identifiable.
yes. With another car company that we know, BMW, the grills are all over the place, right? They only bear passing resemblance to each other because there's a left and a right one. Aside from that, each one of them has a different shape. I kind of like the philosophy of keeping things very similar so that when you step into something, you immediately know how to use it. And I think that was an old school Apple trait. You should just be able to pick it up and know what you're doing. And that's been my beef with the concept of iPad as a work machine, because it's a work machine if you have a Pro, like a Mac, but it has a completely different way of doing things. Now, if they go to a windowed interface, now in the Apple ecosystem, you have to understand how to use two different windowed interfaces. Do you know what I mean? Um, so, especially when I phrase it like that, to me, it doesn't even make sense. It's like, okay. Now, what I could see happening is, like, imagine if my resolution on my screen was lower, these buttons would be a little bit bigger. Big enough that I could get my stubby ass fingers on them and be able to click the red one differently than the yellow or green one. Yeah, maybe.
But that's not
and
what
we've
it's
all I know, and we've all commented on, how much the control center looks like it's meant to be touched on a Mac.
yeah, right.
So the Mac has gone the iOS way. Why can't iPad OS grab some of the things about the Mac that work?
Well, it sounds to me that this is what it's moving more in that direction. Like the example I just gave with the trackpad or the mouse, the cursor experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's borrowing a concept from the Mac, but bringing it over and making it in an iPad way, in an iPad centric way. So, like you're saying, yeah, they're not going to take a window on the Mac, port it over the iPad with the red, yellow, and green buttons and just enlarge those and say, here you go. That's not, if they've done that, they have failed. But it's going to be something, borrowing this Mac-like concept of multiple windows movable anywhere on the screen by some method, and then but in terms of
telepathy,
how do you change that? Hey, whatever, man. If they could probably read my thoughts anyway, so that's fine. But in a way that makes sense to an iPad, to a primarily touch-based device, but that uses the mouse cursor that is already a part of iPad OS. Anything else?
We'll have to see.
That to me is great. Interactive widgets would be nice for third parties. Some of them built-in iPad OS and iOS widgets are already interactive, but that was one of the things pre-iOS 14 or pre-iOS 15, I can't remember, that you could have some widget-like functionality that was interactive, and then when they moved everything over to Swift UI, third parties were no longer able to do that. So I'm hopeful that they'll bring some of that over too with widgets, so that, like you're saying, rather than having to go open up this app and then do this and that and the other thing, you can, like, shortcuts, run a couple of shortcuts from the screen, which they can only do that. But something else like that, where you can just click on something and it mark a Todoist task as done, or stuff like that real easily without actually having to open up the app. I would love to see that on both iOS and iPad OS. And of course, if they change
even the Google app would be nice. It would be far more functional if you could interact with that Google app as a true widget,
right. That so that's kind of what I'm hopeful on both of those platforms. So that's all I've got for iPad OS. And certainly sounds like you're in agreement on that. So let's go to Watch OS. I know we're going to spend some time on Mac OS. So let's go over to Watch OS. We are both Apple Watch users. There we can see a lot of the this to me is a no-brainer. Power saving mode. Have you gone in? Have you turned on power reserve mode on your Apple Watch ever, or been forced to?
So many times on the Series 5 that it drives me crazy.
It's
that one, that first generation with the always on display, I can get a solid 7 hours, maybe.
Oh boy,
it's rough.
So my Series 6 is in better shape. I can get through a whole day, no problem, with always on.
I can't make it. In fact, I will wear that Series 3 that I got from you if I know I have a long day of work. Like if I have an early morning plus a concert, I wear the space gray one, to get me through the day, because it doesn't have always on. It's it'll make it. The Series 5 won't.
Can I ask you a dumb question? Why don't you just turn on theater mode on the Series 5?
I don't know.
Because that's what I do. Like when I know that like I have a longer day, and I like on my Series 6, I will go ahead and just flip up Control Center, and of course it's not working for me right now, and turn on the theater mode or whatever they call it, and then it just kind of turns off the always on function, and it for me on my Series 6 it saves a ton of battery life.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'll start to do that. I guess the point is, I feel like the one with the always on display, I should be able to do it.
Oh, agreed. And you are rocking, a 2-year-old Apple Watch, so the battery isn't going to keep up the way that it used to. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, a low power mode, a true low power mode, like we have on iOS, and like they've brought to Mac OS this for iOS or for Mac OS 12, it should be there. And it shouldn't mean that all you can do is look at the time and that's it. Like, so that's a nice thing. As expanded health stuff like AFib detection. Yeah, sure. Great. I can, great. Bring it.
If you can do it. Yep.
Yeah. More work.
No one's going to complain about that. No one's going to be like, I wish it couldn't tell if I was having a heart attack or Of course,
additional
please.
Metrics
by all means.
for running workouts. Yeah, do it up. So here's where it gets a little bit controversial. Since Apple Watch 1, people have been asking for, why is there not a third-party watch face store, a way to put third-party watch faces?
Because they would all suck.
Doesn't sound like we're getting that. Well,
yeah,
but that's no different than apps in general. They just decided we want our watch to look pretty. That we want the watch to look the way we want the watch to look all the time.
Yeah,
you have some choices, but that should happen. There's no. I will not accept any argument on Apple's side. Yeah, there are arguments, but no. To me, it's my watch. Let me vet for me. Let me do what I want, just like I can install apps that I want on it, and then I can put those complications on my watch screen. It's not hard. Like, just do it. But doesn't sound like we're getting that. But some of the existing watch faces, some of the ones from even like the original watches, Series 0, 1, and 2, and even the 3, might get some updates. So should have happened years ago, but hey, awesome, great. I have no.
How far back do you think it will? How far back do you think the compatibility will go? Do you think it'll go back to 3?
Series 4
sounds about right. That was the big changeover year.
Yeah, that was a huge leap forward in terms of processing, which unfortunately means that your Series 3 is left in the dust, and then
It's
my
fine.
Series 4
It's
is next
fine.
up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that all that stuff is good. Maybe I'm sure there will be some more things that we weren't necessarily thinking of. But hey, great, more power to them. tvOS.
I use it all the time. I mean, it's the only way I watch TV is with a Mac TV on every single one of our TVs. Sorry, Apple TV on every single one of our TVs. But again, it's kind of like what we've been talking about. I can't think of a solid thing that I need, except, gosh, it would be nice if Apple could package like a small like live TV thing together, you know,
Oh, I see. Like a recording something.
Yeah. So if it had sort of a YouTube TV but done better. Not that YouTube TV is bad at all. That's the current one I use, and it's pretty darn good. But anywho,
Like an Apple Live TV.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing that we forgot, or I forgot to talk about. It's very small thing, but I bet you'll agree with me on this one. Is back to iOS CarPlay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you think CarPlay needs? Because I think it needs a weather app. My God, why is there not a damn weather app on CarPlay? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
They need it. They need a weather app. How many times are you in your car and you're like, oh God, it looks like it's going to tornado out right now, you know? And where's my weather app? You know, I don't need the radar or anything. I just need like a, you know, weather alerts or something, or just like the widget view that we get on the phones, you know, like something like that. Just give me a weather app.
I just ask the robot, and if
the
I
robot
need
lady,
it,
yeah,
and it'll tell me. But yeah, that's okay. Okay, sure. That seems like an obvious thing that they just haven't done. So sure, that's fine. Great, cool. So yeah, I'm sure there will be some smart home stuff for tvOS, but that's about it. And great, perfect, fine.
exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna spend some time on this one, so let's get into Mac OS.
Oh, we're gonna go back up to Mac OS. Okay.
Oh, we got to go back up to Mac OS because I kind of put that one kind of near the end because I thought, all right, since you and I are both heavy Mac users, there's things you might notice. I'm sure you're going to notice things that it needs differently than I do, and that's kind of what's going to be fun about it. But to me, the biggest thing, and I'll just throw my big thing out there, it's small in terms of everyday interaction, but the way that notifications changed over from into Big Sur is trash. Like, I shouldn't need to click 3 times to respond to an iMessage on my screen. That's
right.
Stupid. There should be a reply button right there. Click that. Boom. Okay. 1 click, type, enter, done. And again, I know that that's Swift UI. But there needs to come back. So, and that not to make just like this little tiny X at the upper left-hand corner, but like, okay, reply or dismiss. Boom. Like the way that those were prior to Big Sur were great. They need to bring that back.
Agreed. Yeah, I until you mentioned it, I hadn't been able to like quantify what exactly I thought was wrong with the notifications, but it's exactly that. The fact that you can't get in there and interact, and the limitations of Swift UI. I totally agree. It's garbage how it is now.
Yeah.
In terms of other things, I mean, that is the biggie for me. Consistency of the UI has always been important to me. I think it's darn good right now, but some things still look pre Monterey and pre Big Sur, and just getting all those things consistent throughout. I think they're making progress on that. I can't think of any huge omissions. I did have one a moment ago, but I just lost it. And all I don't know how you do this without running into security problems. But think about if Siri was an always on thing on the Mac, where if a notification popped up, you could say dismiss and it just went away. But you didn't have to say, hey, and then the computer lady's name. But so many times it's there and it's an annoyance and you're working hard on something, but you have to go click on that. And then, like you say, you have to click on 3 other things to get that notification to go away now because of how notifications are. If you just said dismiss, it just popped up right there.
Sure. Right.
Or if you were just able to say things like hide window or minimize window, you wouldn't even need touch at that point. Between the trackpad, mouse, and just having that little bit of always on listening, you could, and it wouldn't be literally every function that the mouse does. You wouldn't be like, click on the Apple menu and go down to, you wouldn't be like that. It would be like a minimize window. It'd be like dismiss. It'd be like, you'd click on something and you'd say like trash or something like that, or eject. Just like very basic commands that would save just a ton of time. And again, it wouldn't be the only means of interacting with that, because there are situations where you have to be quiet. You're in a packed conference or something like that, and you wouldn't want to have to say eject. You can still just drag it or hit the keyboard button. But, quick things where just a vocal acknowledgement would be the fastest way. It'd be cool for them to start incorporating that,
I think there's something like you're describing already in there, believe it or not.
Buried in accessibility, probably, right?
Right. Yeah. And this
right.
Actually a good time to bring this up is I'm expecting them to actually overhaul system preferences and make it settings a la iOS.
Could be.
The fact that it's still system preferences, it's so old school and it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
It needs to be updated.
It's funny.
But it go ahead.
What was Mac OS called before it was Mac OS when Jobs'
Mac
previous
10.
company? Next Step.
Next Step, yeah.
Next Step. Control panel. I think that is exactly the same as how the control panel looks now. They don't. Nobody's got a picture of it anymore.
System preferences.
Oh yeah,
makes sense. So yeah, like you go in the voice control and then you go under commands, and there's quite a bit of quite a bit of navigation stuff that you can do using just voice. And I remember them making a big deal out of that a couple years back when they introduced this. So yeah, it's these things are they do need to be updated. I'm sure there's other bugs across the system that they need to go ahead and squash. But it would be also nice if they brought more of the Windows multi-window functions over from the similar to Windows, but we'll see if that happens. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Like,
you remember those days?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been a full-time Mac user since 2008. So, like, that's even more old school than me. But like, yeah, as far as I've ever been using a Mac, like this is system preferences. But why is every
Yeah,
other,
I
settings?
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
So those are the things that I'm kind of hoping for. The mail app is trash. I'm sorry. It's
real bad. Yeah, it's
beyond
real bad.
old. I am using an app, and I think I've told you about this one, but I need to remind you of it in case you're not using it already, because I saw in your little picture that you do have mail on your second screen a lot of times.
I do.
MimeStream, MIMESTREAM.
I've tried it.
Oh man, it is so much better, particularly for Gmail. If you're not a Gmail user,
okay.
But it is, oh man, it is so much better.
Okay.
So anyway, anything else on Mac OS?
Not particularly. No. The one thing I wanted to point out is you mentioned that some of the voice stuff is in accessibility right now. If you think about it, that's where a lot of these features start. You know, like the mouse support on iPad was an accessibility thing before it was a true, honest to God feature. So I mean, it's something they could pull out. You know,
that's true. That's a great point. I'd almost forgotten about that. But that's true. All right. So other stuff. So there's the 5 major operating systems. Other stuff. What hardware are we thinking? Any hardware for tomorrow? Hoping for any hardware tomorrow?
The expectation is so high for an M2 MacBook Air. I would not be surprised if they do it because they feel compelled like they have to, but I can also see them because they have been on such a rampage with hardware over the 2021 and 2022. I can see them not releasing any hardware at this one.
Okay.
And that's it. I can see them pausing to breathe at this one.
Certainly the supply chain issues due to COVID and otherwise could definitely play into that in terms of release of those things. But they said in WWDC 2020 that this Apple Silicon transition was going to be 2 years. We're at 2 years. You know, by the end of 2020.
But they could say, "Oh, well, COVID screwed up that timeline." You know what I mean?
Sure. Right. You're right. They have that out, but there's nothing to me that says that they can't introduce the M2 chip, discuss it, and then put it in a MacBook Air. You might have to wait 3 months to get it, but they've got to kickstart that next thing. And along with the MacBook Air, I'm also expecting a preview of the Apple Silicon Mac Pro tomorrow.
Okay, so you don't think the M1 Extreme Mac Studio is the Mac Pro? You don't think that?
The M1 Ultra? No, it is not. Because they said it in that introduction. They said we've got one more device, and it's the Mac Pro, and that's for another day.
Okay.
So I think that the Apple Silicon Mac Pro, whatever the chip is, whatever the high-end chip is going to be of the M2 generation, not the M1. It might you might be able to configure it with an M2 Ultra at the base level, kind of like on your studio. The base level is the M1 Max, but then you can step up to the M1 Ultra. I think it's gonna be something like that. There's gonna be a base.
So they go M2 Ultra as the base, and then M2
Extreme, M2, whatever, they come. You know how bad they suck at naming. So it could be the M2 saber-tooth tiger for all we know. And okay,
that would make more sense.
Great. You know,
wait, the Pro one isn't in the Pro.
Right.
The Extreme one isn't. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So those are the two hardware pieces. Maybe they're going to update the 13-inch MacBook Pro, pull out the Touch Bar, throw an M2 in it, call it a day. Maybe they're going to take the higher end Mac Mini or the lower end Mac Mini and put an M2 in it and an M2 Pro in it. Maybe that's got two options now to kind of bridge that desktop gap between M1 and then the M1 and the Max, because there's no
13-inch MacBook Pro. 13-inch MacBook Pro is a dead computer walking, I think.
Well, we'll see. There are rumors that say it might happen, and there's been rumors for quite some time. But I agree with you. Like, where does it fit? Like, there's a price gap there that could just as easily be filled by, like, I don't know, a 15-inch MacBook Air.
Right, but especially they say the Air is going to lose all of the Air traits. Like, it's not going to have the wedge design anymore. It's just going to be like a slightly thinner MacBook Pro. You know what? At this point, let's just call one the MacBook and one the MacBook Pro and call it a day. That would make sense.
Right. You're right. 100%.
You don't need the Air anymore.
Right. It's a name that everybody loved and associated with, but like the design is dated, and you know, the MacBook Pros from 2021 are such a huge leap forward. It would be nice, you know, going back to this whole Steve Jobs thing of like, you know, all of the products we make should fit on a table, a single table. You know, you've got your consumer and your pro and your laptops, and your consumer and your pro and your desktops, and boom, you're done. Well, we're past that. Like, we've gone above and beyond that. But on the laptop side, there's a gap that needs to be filled there. So those are the two things that I'm expecting: is the M2 introduction with a MacBook Air and some sort of Apple Silicon Mac Pro preview. Anything else is gravy.
But AirPods Pro 2, maybe?
I see that in the fall. Yeah,
it's very consumery. Same. They're talking about resurrecting the HomePod. I think that's down the road a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we're
Although
there
I'm
yet.
super jazzed about that because I'm a HomePod fan, but yeah.
I agree with you. I hate my little stupid HomePod Mini right now, but one thing, the elephant in the room, the mixed reality headset.
Oh God.
I don't think it's happening.
I don't think it's happening. I don't think it should happen. I hope it dies a horrible
death. It's going to happen.
Oh God.
But it's not going to happen tomorrow. There will be things built into the OSs that you can look at, and you will clearly point to added AR functionality. But it's going to happen.
You know what the problem is, Don? You know what the problem is? I always say, like, okay, this is the Apple product I'm not going to buy. And no matter what, I'm not going to buy this one. I'm not going to get it. And then what do? And then I buy it.
By saying that, it's the curse. That's the kiss of death. If you didn't say it, it might not happen. But if you say it, you know it's going to happen.
Yes. But it's like, I don't wear glasses. I don't want a thing on my face unless I have to have it there. Like, if the doctor says, hey, Brett, your vision really sucks, get some glasses. Okay, it's time. You know, but right now, I don't need the thing on my face, so I don't want to stick a thing on my face.
Right, and this is going to be more of like an Oculus Rift, you know. So, hold on, I've got to bring somebody in that has an opinion on this matter.
Hello. Say hello to the world.
This is Alex. So he's making his
Yeah.
appearance. What do you think about the AR VR headset, buddy? I agree. It's gonna
He's
be
like,
fine.
Daddy, they're gonna have such cooler technology when I'm your age.
Yeah, they are. It won't be like the Oculus Rift then. It'll be like actual like eyeglasses.
He's eyeing your AirPod. He's thinking that's a tasty snack.
Yeah, he just ate, so at least he's good on that.
Okay.
So he's good there, but yeah, he's used to seeing my beats in my ears, so this is different to see these little white guys.
Like, that's
so there he is.
White. Goodness.
Say
Hello,
hi,
Mr.
Brett.
Xander.
Hi, Brett.
Hello, Internet world.
Yes. Hello, Internet. Yes. So he and I are going to be sitting there watching the keynote tomorrow for as long as he'll tolerate.
Yeah.
You know what it is. So
you got to indoctrinate them young. You know.
That's true. Catch them when they're a month old at least.
Yep.
So, and I notice he reaches at my watch a lot.
Oh yeah, he's like touching and swiping already.
Oh boy, and then he's spitting up on me in the middle of it. That's great, awesome. Hey,
yeah,
you know. But mommy was there with the save, so you know. That's the only things I'm expecting. I don't know. At this point, you know, any hardware puts this over 2 hours. Like, there's no doubt. They can get close to 2 hours with just the OSs. Any hardware whatsoever, blowing past 2 hours easily.
Yeah. That's why maybe they won't. You know?
It's possible. I mean, all the rumors I keep reading, everybody's mixed. Like, we expect these things, but they could just say, well, because of COVID and all this sort of thing, nope, supply chain issues, whatever. We'll pull it out. We'll do it later. But the rumors are saying they've been looking to introduce this MacBook Air since last fall. At some point, they just have to pull the trigger. You know? They just have to do it.
Yeah.
And now seems like a good time to do it.
Yes, it is the perfect shopping time for the zillions of high school and college students that will buy these things right now.
Which they have never lined up when it comes to a MacBook Air. They have never, ever lined that up. And it's ridiculous.
Do it.
So at least now, if they do it now, they can line it up. Right.
Now.
100%. Schools, students, everybody are making their buying decisions right damn now.
Now.
Make it happen.
Do it, Apple. Now.
Right.
If it's not in your plans for tomorrow and you're somehow seeing this,
do it anyway. Now. Do it anyway. That'll be the best thing for those folks. Yeah, it's going to sell like hotcakes no matter what. People might have to wait 3 months to get it. Okay, you waited 3 months to get your Mac Studio and Studio Display, and the world didn't end.
And it actually came 3 weeks earlier than they said it was going to. So,
right.
You know?
Nobody's, and that's like over promise or under promise and over delivered. You know? So yeah, either way, man, that's all I've got to say about this thing tomorrow. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see. And of course, as we told everybody, if there's a way for us to live stream it and put it on here, we'll do that and live react. If any, or if not, maybe we'll just get together tomorrow night and we'll just talk it over.
Yeah. Do a quick recap if we can't. Right, because the Wagnerian proportions of this thing are the partial turnoff to doing a live react for me. You know, because it's like they get into some minutia on this dub one that they don't get into on some of the other like fast cut, like zoom across Apple Park things. Like, this is the one that gets into the weeds a little bit, and so I'm like, okay. Yeah, it could be a longie. That sounded dirty, 100%. So I'm not going to say that anymore. Yeah, really dirty.
Well, maybe at least you and I don't know, we can talk on FaceTime or something and record a bit of that and play a clip of it on the next show or something. Really see how the power of that Mac Studio can do with editing stuff.
Oh yeah.
So either way, stay tuned to our Facebook page, and we will let you know when we are going to go over that. I know this. I will be installing at least 2 betas tomorrow, and playing around with those. So we'll have plenty to talk about at our next show. So
all right, folks. So I think that's gonna do it for tonight.
100%. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for contributing to the show. We appreciate it very much. The little show that could is now 2 years old, and what better way to kind of kick it into its second year by talking WWDC and new stuff. So, all right, everybody. So,
all right, we'll see you soon. Maybe really soon.
Be great. All right, take care, everybody. Take care, Brett.